Hello, I'm Chuck Phillips, South Alabama Home Inspections, and welcome to another edition of Southern Home Talk. And I'm going to talk about trees. This is an episode I've been wanting to do for a couple of years. It's going to be a little bit long, so I hope you're patient with this. Like I say, you may know some of this, or maybe all of it, but if nothing else, hopefully you'll enjoy the photographs, because these are the photographs I've taken from past storms in the past, and so they're kind of fun to look at. But the main thing is if you're going to hire a tree service company, you want to get as many bids as you possibly can on this, and you also want to have it all in writing, certainly in writing, because you don't want to have be any misunderstanding about what trees are going to be removed and where they need to be removed and whether or not the stumps have to be ground, that sort of thing. You want all this in writing, so be sure you do that. Now, I went with 14 different tree companies. I didn't go with 14. Probably more than 14 I've had come out and bid, and I settled for the Big Green Tree Company. I felt like that they had the skills and the competence and the equipment, most of all, to come out and do this job safely, and that's why I went with them. And of course, they were not the cheapest one. I've never have gone with the cheapest contractor. I've always gone with ones that I felt were competent to do the job, and that's what you should do in this case as well. And never pay any upfront money to any contractor. So I remember when Hurricane Sally came through, there was an army of tree companies coming through the neighborhood, and they had local phone numbers, but their tags were out of state. And so it told me they probably got burner phones, and good luck getting back in touch with them, especially if you gave them a deposit. So this is why you have to really be careful when it comes to hiring contractors. Now, I've got some good episodes on this channel that will really help you out on how to hire contractors. Now, there's some things that you're going to want to do as a homeowner to help mitigate your problems as well, and maybe even save you money, because a lot of what the tree company is bidding on is the difficulty of what they got to face when they come to your house to perform the service. And so you want to make sure you want to get rid of as many yard ornaments and anything in the yard that could be obstructing their service, because they need a lot of room to work with when they're moving these trees around. And you can expect some yard damage. It's just what it's going to be. So you're going to have to be pretty forgiving and tolerant of their presence on your property, and tolerance of some collateral damage to it as a result of their service. This is really hard, hazardous, dangerous work, and it's real heavy equipment they're having to use to do it with. And so it's going to more than likely create some collateral damage to your property. I mean, including myself. I mean, you can see where they got the mailbox got knocked down, which is not a big deal. It tore up some parts of my yard, which is to be expected. Scarred my driveway up some, which is to be expected. I had to set this stuff down. That truck weighs 22 tons. It's the one that does the cutting. But I also let him know that driveway could take his truck, because I personally poured this driveway, and it's 8 inches thick at the road, and it's about 4 to 5 inches thick, and I used really good concrete with wire reinforcement in it and all that good stuff. And so that's why he felt pretty comfortable bringing that truck onto the driveway, and of course it fared well. There was no damage done to it as a result. So just know that there's a possibility that you're going to get some collateral damage to your property as a result of this tree service being there. Now, you may have to experience some out-of-pocket expenses as well, like taking down the power lines. You may have to call the power company to come out and take the power line off the house if you have an overhead service drop. But also know that during Hurricane Sally and the past ones as well, that limbs and trees have snatched the services off of people's homes. And so this is another reason why you may want to consider getting these trees removed. And not only that, I found that the trees that are the most hazardous, which was kind of surprising to me since I've been through so many hurricanes, was these red oaks. And they just they look really good on the outside, but there was quite a few of them that were hollow. Some appeared to have rot or some sort of wood-destroying organisms in them, and it was in the city. You would never know that looking at them from the outside. And if you're really attached to some of your trees, you may want to contact a certified arborist who can come out and evaluate the health of that tree. I believe they have stuff that they can do that with. So there's going to be two different types of tree services out there. You're going to have certified arborists, which offer tree service cutting, of course, And then you have tree removal companies who may not be certified arborists. But in my case, I didn't care if they were an arborist or not. I just wanted to make sure that they had the right equipment and the right skill set to do the job right. So just know that. Now there's also trees in our area that are wind resistant. That's be the cypress tree, the live oak, and the magnolia tree, and there may be some others as well. But one of the trees here that really poses a massive hazard is the water oak. And here's a photograph here of probably 100-ton water oak that went through this home. I mean, just sliced clean through it. And that was some of the trees I had removed at my house, was water oaks. Pine trees are pretty vulnerable, as you can see in these photographs here. And normally they get really tall, especially in these older neighborhoods. And so a tree in the neighbor's yard all the way across the street could fall and go right through your home as well. So when you look at trees, you might want to look at your neighbors too, because they can form a threat to your home. And I would actually reach out to them, see if you can work out some sort of thing where you can split the cost of having these trees removed for both of y'all's benefit, because I've noticed that quite a bit during Sally's neighbors' trees falling on the neighbor's house. Well, it happened in my case. The trees that fell on my property fell on my neighbor. So, it was a wake-up call for me, and so I'm glad I got those trees out of here, because that's just that much less I had to remove. I had this tree company come out and remove 4 of them this last time, and I'm probably going to have them come back and remove some more, because I have so many on this lot. And that's what you want. You want someone you can actually trust that can come out here and do the job right. And you'll see in these videos the type of equipment that they had that could make this job happen. The front of this thing here, the cutting mechanism, and the mechanism that grabs the tree and cuts it, that weighs about 2,000 pounds. And the truck itself weighs about 22 tons. And also, if you notice, it's named Sally. Well, it was named after Hurricane Sally. And I believe this thing can lift close to 9,000 pounds, extended out to 96 feet. That's pretty impressive. I was certainly impressed watching them perform this service on my property, and I actually shot this video. And so I was glad I was able to do it, but I had to do this from a safe distance too. And so if you're going to watch them perform this service, you're really going to want to put yourself in a really safe place to do this. I don't even know if I'd be in my home, because if this was to slip out of these claws, it could come through your roof onto you. And so I don't recommend being in your home if they're having to swing over it. I also recommend that you be in a place where they can see you, because you don't want them worrying about where you're located either. If you have pets, you might want to make arrangements to have them placed somewhere while this is being done. Also, if you have even field lines and septic tanks, that they may be vulnerable. So you want to let the tree company know that if you have any kind of services that are buried, you want to let them know where they're at so they don't get damaged. But just know that this damage can still occur, because you may not know where they are. And so just be willing to accept some collateral damage as a result of having these trees cut down. So I hope this has been informative. Now, one other thing I wanted to point out too is, if you notice in these photographs here, and in fact I may have put this in some of y'all's reports, the ones I've done inspections for, if I see trees that are really close to the house, I may point that out in my inspection report, because what can happen is these tree roots can cause the foundation to heave. But worse is when they get blown over, it'll actually heave the entire home. You can look at these pictures here. This one, you can see where it just simply cracked the walls on both the front and the sides of it. This photograph here, you can see where it actually lifted the roof off the house while it fell and crushed the neighbor's house. And so, this is the reason why you want to evaluate the trees. If you don't have the capability of doing that, to have an arborist come out and do that for you. I don't know how much they charge to perform this service, but in my opinion, trees are the most hazardous thing that faces our homes here in the Deep South. And not only from just hurricanes, but from thunderstorms as well. In fact, here is a photograph here. This is the first time I'd ever, too bad I didn't get this on video, but I was standing at my back door during a thunderstorm. It's been 2 years ago, and this massive bolt of lightning hit this tree. I mean, it just exploded, and it put this red cloud in the air, this red smoke, and I was scratching my head, where's the red smoke coming from? What was a red oak? And so it just vaporized that thing. It also messed up some of the electronics at my house, including my neighbors. And so now this tree is dead, and so this is going to become a hazard at some point. But also know that some of these limbs that are in trees that have died, well, they've become rotted, and with all the water and rain that we have here, they get saturated. And when that happens, they get really, really heavy. And so you can have a dead limb that weighs close to 1,000 pounds fall out of these trees onto your roof or some other part of your property. And so this is a hazard the tree company faces as well. They may not know that there is a dead limb and what they grab hold of. And so when they grab it, it could break off of that and come through your house. This is a dangerous job that can affect both them and you. And so you've also got these widowmakers, as they call them, and that's where limbs have gotten hung up in the tops of these trees. Well, eventually they're going to rot and become heavy, and they're going to come crashing down through the trees. You can see in this photograph here where the limb just took all the limbs off this magnolia tree as it came down because it was so heavy. It had been hanging up there for who knows how long. So, you know, the main thing is take the time to do the right thing, to hire the right company. Don't get in a rush to hire a tree company. Get as many bids as you possibly can and start preparing for hurricane season year round. This is not something you should do just during the summertime. This is something that should be done year round as well. You should have tarps on hand. I'd recommend you keep large ones because who knows how big a hole you might have to cover up. I have a hurricane kit I have made up with tarps and stuff like that. Like I say, go watch the episodes I have on hurricane preparedness. So be prepared. We're in September. Let's keep our fingers crossed that we don't have any hurricanes this season. But it's just a matter of time before we have more of them. And that's why you probably want to entertain, if you got trees out there, to have these companies come out there. And probably the best time to have them to come out is going to be during the winter time when they're not as busy. When you get into the late hurricane season, everybody's starting to think like me and you are, and so they're real busy. And just know that it may take them longer than they've stated to come out. Even the company that I hired, I was expecting them to be here in a couple of weeks. Well, it's actually more like 5 or 6 weeks before they got here. But it's what it was. I mean, there was all kinds of problems going on with the weather back then. They had to get these trucks back to where the ground wasn't saturated, the dump was closed. And so you're going to have to be patient with them as far as showing up too. You just have a lot of patience, guys, both with them arriving and doing the job and also for collateral damages to your property. I hope this has been informative. I know I've left some stuff out, and I'm going to probably put this in the comments down below. And also, if you have any information, I want you to put it in there as well, because it's about sharing this information that helps all of us out. And thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all taking part of this. Peace.